When I was 8 months pregnant, my husband Oliver applied to work out of town for 3 years. During those 3 years, I was earning money to support the family, while also taking care of the child, and also taking care of my in-laws. No matter how tough it was, I held on. I never complained a word. One day, I accidentally overheard him chatting with a friend. He said, "I specifically applied for the assignment. It's because I didn't want to take care of the postpartum woman and the child. Let Emily handle it by herself. For the sake of this family." I decided to forgive him, until one day I discovered, during those 3 years of his assignment, not only did he have a child with another woman, he was also taking care of her and the child. I had always treated my in-laws as family and my own daughter. It seemed they wanted that woman to replace my position in this family. Since things have come to this point, then let's get a divorce. These so-called family members. I don't want it anymore. The company's listening device accidentally fell into my husband Oliver's briefcase. I was just curious for a moment. I opened the real-time backend. He should be having dinner with someone else. From the sound, there are 3 people, besides Oliver. The other 2 are his good friends, Jason and Michael. At first, they were just chatting casually, having some drinks. After a few drinks, Michael seems a bit drunk. He said gloomily, "Brothers, my wife is pregnant." Jason asked in confusion, "That's a good thing. Why do you seem not very happy?" Michael said, "It is indeed a good thing, but just thinking about having to raise a child in the future, I find it troublesome." At that moment, Oliver smiled meaningfully. He said, "You want me to teach you a few tricks?" Michael scoffed. "What experience do you have? Your wife was sent to another place before she gave birth. She didn't come back until 3 years later." Oliver smiled mysteriously. "This is my experience. Apply for an assignment before giving birth. Come back 3 years later. Those 3 years are the most challenging phase of raising a child. You won't have to be involved in taking care of the child. When you come back, the child will still be young. Memory will be vague. It won't affect the relationship between you and your son." The air was quiet for a moment. After a while, Jason and Michael both exclaimed in surprise, "This is also possible. Your wife is really silly." She actually agreed. "I think so too now." "Yeah, I'm really foolish to think I would agree," Oliver said with a smile. His tone carried a hint of bragging. "Emily is someone who easily falls in love. She loves me very much. As long as I casually say it's for our good, she agrees immediately." Upon hearing this, I felt like I had fallen into an ice cellar. I loved and trusted him with all my heart, but I never expected he would use my feelings to manipulate me. How could he do this? I was filled with joy, looking forward to our family welcoming a new member. Yet he only thought about how to escape responsibility. We went through the toughest times together. Back then, we had nothing. We shared a bag of instant noodles. I always said I wanted to lose weight. I didn't dare drink too much soup. I was afraid he wouldn't be full. Later, life slowly got better. I never asked him for money because I have a strong sense of pride. I always felt I could support myself independently. I hoped our relationship would be pure, not involving any financial interests. So I paid for things most of the time. I covered the costs of formula and diapers for those 3 years. I even took on the expenses for his mother to care for our daughter. I have given so much, but what did I gain? He only said I'm love-struck, and he's always plotting against me. This moment, I just couldn't hold it in anymore. Tears streamed down my cheeks. I couldn't stop crying. "Oliver, those sweet words you said to me, were they really from the heart, or were they just a trap set up to deceive me? Am I worse than other women? You did nothing at all. You just said a few words, and I was left dizzy by your sweet talk." After coming back in the evening, Oliver gently kissed the corner of my mouth. He still got close to me like before. I sadly realized I would still have feelings for him. How could I not have feelings? We grew up together. We dated for 7 years, from high school to university. Our relationship was always good. Classmates were very envious. After graduating from university, he proposed to me. At that time, we had just started our internship. We weren't financially well off. He secretly saved 3 months' worth of salary. He even donated blood once. He finally saved enough money. He bought fireworks and a ring. Under the sky filled with fireworks, he knelt on one knee, holding the ring in his hand. He said to me with a trembling voice, "Emily, will you be my wife?" I nodded with tears in my eyes. I reached out my hand with the ring to him. He held my hand tightly. This hold lasted for 10 years. In our 6th year of marriage, I had a child. He was as happy as a child. He spun me around in his arms, but when I was 8 months pregnant, just before giving birth, He told me he had to go work in another city. He would be gone for 3 years. He held me and said seriously, "Wife, this opportunity is truly rare. Wait for me to come back. My career will have a significant boost. You might have to work hard for the next 3 years, but everything is for our future happiness." Just because he said one sentence, I endured the hardest 3 years alone. I went for a checkup alone with a big belly. When the doctor asked why my husband wasn't there, I could only explain under the strange looks of other pregnant women. He is on a business trip. On the day I gave birth, I was alone in the hospital. The contractions were so painful I almost passed out, yet my mother-in-law was loudly telling the doctor, "It must be a natural birth. A natural birth is better for the baby." After giving birth, life was very difficult. My mother-in-law refused to hire a postpartum caregiver. She said she didn't trust outsiders to take care of the baby, but in reality, she could help me very little. Every day she only helped me make 3 meals. And then she went out to dance in the square. I couldn't sleep well at all at night. I set an alarm. I have to get up every 3 hours to pump milk. After putting the milk into storage bags, I also have to wash the bottles. My daughter cries a lot. She often wakes up suddenly in the middle of the night. As soon as she cries, I immediately get up to hold her and comfort her until she falls asleep again. It's not easy during the day either, besides having to change her diapers on time. I also have to constantly monitor her health. She had a rash on her face when she was born. After getting vaccinated, she had a high fever. Every time something like this happened, it was always me alone taking her to the hospital. For a whole 6 months, I haven't had a single good night's sleep. I lost 20 pounds. I'm so thin that I look like skin and bones. After my maternity leave ends, I have to go back to work, but no one can help take care of the baby. My mother-in-law offered to help take care of the baby, as long as I pay her according to market rates. I think this proposal is quite reasonable, so I agreed. As a working woman, I have always believed that women's labor should be fairly rewarded. After 3 years of difficult times, Oliver finally came back. I thought the hard days were finally over. I've been feeling down these past few days. I completely forgot that my daughter wanted handmade noodles. Sophia brought the rice to the table. Suddenly, she threw the chopsticks on the floor. "Are you doing this on purpose? How many times have I said it? I want to eat handmade noodles." I was startled by this sudden change. I didn't react for a moment. Oliver pretended to be angry. He said to Sophia, "How can you speak to your mother like that? She just forgot. If you don't want to eat, then don't. Dad will take you out to eat handmade noodles. How about that?" After he was assigned back, his relationship with Sophia has always been good. I used to be quite happy about it. After all, they are a father and daughter. Even if they haven't seen each other for 3 years, they can quickly become close again. Now I finally understand. Oliver's seemingly comforting and critical words are actually just to elevate himself and belittle me. Sophia has mentioned this countless times behind my back. No wonder he always tells others he prefers Dad. In fact, every mother loves her child, but I never indulge Sophia. I always believe parents' love for their children should consider their long-term future. That's why I always discipline her strictly. I don't allow her to replace meals with snacks, and I don't let her play video games for long periods. At times like this, Oliver would step in and say, "It's okay to eat a little sometimes. It's okay to play a bit sometimes." Every parent has their own role to play. Since he takes on the strict role, I'll be the gentle one. But as time goes on, the daughter is becoming closer to him, but the relationship with me is getting tenser, just like it is now. Sophia didn't listen to Oliver's advice. She continues to vent her anger at me. "You only think about yourself. You completely disregard me and Dad. How can you be so selfish? You should hurry up and divorce Dad. Let Aunt Anna be with Dad." As soon as Oliver heard this, his expression immediately changed. He hurriedly pulled Sophia aside and said seriously, "What are you talking about?" I looked at his face, which was both flustered and guilty, and I smiled gently. "It sounds like my husband has an intimate lover. Her last name is Anna. My own biological daughter actually wants to matchmake her with her dad and wants to call another woman mom. What does that make all the effort I've put in over the years? Do you think this is a joke? This big one and small one both feel unfamiliar to me." Oliver seems to find it strange that I'm so calm. He walked up to me, nervously explaining, "Wife, Sophia was just talking nonsense. Don't be angry." I forced a bitter smile. "Go on, I'm not angry since you all want a divorce. Then let's get a divorce. Let Anna join this family. I'm done with this." Oliver didn't agree. He held me tightly. telling me he loves me. As he spoke, tears fell down. I let him hold me, listening to him cry and repent, repeatedly saying how much he loves me. A pang of sorrow struck my heart. It hurt so much I almost cried. Every time he says he loves me, I can't help but doubt. Is he speaking from the heart, or is he just using sweet words to deceive me again? This marriage has left me feeling exhausted. I really can't hold on any longer. But the image of 23-year-old Oliver suddenly appeared in my mind. He looked at me with gentle eyes, promising to love me forever, and my daughter when she was young. The scene of her chubby little hand reaching out for me to hold her, replaying in my mind over and over. We could have been very happy together, so I asked Oliver, "Can you separate from her?" He earnestly assured me, no problem. By evening, he fell into a deep sleep. I closed my eyes, but I just couldn't fall asleep. My mind was a mess. I kept thinking until 3 in the morning. My head felt like it was about to explode, but I still couldn't sleep. I sat up in the dark. I picked up Oliver's phone on our wedding anniversary. I entered the correct password. I successfully unlocked the phone. I opened his WeChat. I found a pinned contact. I clicked on the chat box. Inside, there was a sweet conversation. "Hubby, which store did you buy the pastries from when I was in confinement? I suddenly want to eat them now. Little glutton, you remember the food from that store 3 years ago? That store is out of town. Tomorrow my husband will go buy some for you. 4 hours ago, Oliver promised me he would break up with her and gave me a good night kiss. Later I found out they have another child. It turns out Oliver's words about breaking up with her were a lie to me." I mechanically scrolled through the chat history. I felt like an observer, watching their happy life. He bought her gifts on their anniversary, using business trips as an excuse to take her and their son on vacation. He always praises every meal she makes as delicious. He even hands over his salary to her and said, the money earned by the husband should be spent by the wife. I felt a pang of bitterness in my heart, yet I couldn't cry. I numbly scrolled through the chat history until I saw a conversation from over 3 years ago. "Husband, when will you come back? The baby has spit up again." Why did he spit up again? Don't worry, I'll be home soon. The other party sent a photo. In the photo, my mother, without makeup, is holding a baby who is crying loudly. She looks at the camera with a sense of grievance. The child looks like he was just born. My mother must still be in confinement. What on earth is going on? To avoid taking care of me and the child, he specifically applied for a 3-year assignment abroad. But now he has a child with someone else, and he takes care of her meticulously. He accompanies her to prenatal checkups, patiently soothing her emotions affected by hormonal changes, carefully taking care of her during confinement. In the middle of the night when the child is crying, he always takes the initiative to comfort the child, just so she can rest well. In every matter, he does everything seriously and willingly, just like that perfect husband that others envy. Unfortunately, this isn't mine. I don't want to look at it anymore, so I exited their chat interface. Just as I was about to put my phone away, I saw my mother-in-law's chat box. I accidentally clicked on that page. As a result, I saw a conversation that made my eyes nearly pop out from anger. "Son, I heard from Sophia. Emily has already agreed to the divorce. Then hurry up and handle the paperwork. This way, Anna and my grandson can settle in sooner. Mom, I will not get a divorce. Don't worry about this matter. How can I not care? Are you asking my grandson to remain an illegitimate child forever? Let me tell you, I absolutely do not agree to this. You should hurry up and get a divorce. Marry Anna. Your mother-in-law already knows about her existence. I always thought our little family was happy and complete, but it was all fake. I am the only outsider in this family." I stayed up until midnight before sleeping. When I opened my eyes again, it was already noon. Oliver went out to work overtime. Sophia is playing games in the room. I felt like I had lost my soul. I sat blankly on the living room sofa. I didn't know what to do. I sat there for quite a while. My stomach kept rumbling. I really couldn't take it anymore. I stood up. I planned to cook some porridge while I was busy in the kitchen. I heard the door open. I turned around to look. My mother-in-law was enthusiastically bringing a woman in. It's summer now. I had just gotten home. My mother-in-law brought Anna with her. She was a bit surprised to see me at home. She looked a little taken aback, but she quickly pretended nothing happened and said, "Emily, you're home. I've brought Anna to get familiar with the environment." After saying that, he didn't wait for my response. He directly let the woman sit on the sofa. "You all sit first. I'll go cook for you." After saying that, she walked into the kitchen. Sophia heard the noise and walked out of the room. he shouted Aunt Anna with a face full of surprise. Then he rushed into the woman's arms. Anna gently stroked Sophia's head and said with a smile, "Sophia, did you miss your aunt?" Sophia answered happily, "I missed her a lot. Hurry up and marry Dad. Then you can come live at our house." Anna suddenly stopped and glanced at me. I clenched my fist tightly. My nails dug deep into my palm, but my face still remained calm. It was as if she hadn't heard her daughter's words. The living room was silent. No one was speaking. Suddenly, the mother-in-law said loudly from the kitchen, "Why are there only chili peppers in the fridge? What should we do about this?" Anna raised her voice to respond. "Auntie, don't worry. I like spicy food." The mother-in-law came out of the kitchen. She looked at her with a hint of reproach and said, "Even if you like spicy food, you still can't eat it now. Aren't you preparing for pregnancy? You need to take care of your health. Let's go out to eat later." Anna blushed. She lowered her head and didn't speak. I let out a cold laugh. The chili peppers were all bought by me, because I especially love spicy food. During my confinement period, the mother-in-law was responsible for preparing my 3 meals a day. She didn't pay much attention to nutritional balance. She just cooked according to her usual habits. Heavy oil, too much salt, and spicy food make me feel very uncomfortable. It's been a while. Sophia doesn't even want to drink my milk. She cries as soon as she drinks it. I had to subtly remind my mother-in-law, "Could you make the dishes a bit lighter?" "What did she say?" she said. "I remember you love spicy food. I even thought about catering to your taste." At that time, I was really touched. My mother-in-law remembers my taste. It made me feel that she loves me. It's just that her way is not quite right. I didn't expect. A person who truly loves their daughter-in-law would be so thoughtful and considerate. Towards me, he is just going through the motions. My stomach is empty. It hurts like being pricked by needles. I'm getting increasingly impatient watching them act out the roles of a kind mother-in-law and a dutiful daughter-in-law. Just kick them out directly. I'm going to take a break. "Mom, take this stranger away." Grandma's expression suddenly changed. Her voice also became sharp. "What stranger? Anna is not a stranger. She is my daughter-in-law. Little Chuen is my beloved eldest grandson. How can they be considered strangers?" I looked at Anna. She lowered her head, covering the boy's ears with her hand. I couldn't see her expression clearly. I let out a cold laugh. "I remember I am your daughter-in-law." "Right? Where did the other daughter-in-law come from?" Grandma asked loudly. "Didn't you say you wanted a divorce? Hurry and leave. Stop clinging to Oliver." She said. I ignored her. I walked directly in front of Anna. Looking into her eyes, I asked, "Miss Anna, you know that Oliver and I are not divorced yet." "Right." Her face was pale, spoke in a low voice. "Big sister, when Oliver was with me, he said he no longer has feelings for you. They will be divorced soon." "Huh, no matter how much you try to hide it. Isn't it still a deliberate offense?" I raised my hand and slapped Anna. "The original wife teaches a lesson to the mistress." "That seems fair enough." The 3 people across from us suddenly panicked. Anna immediately started crying. The mother-in-law hurried over to comfort her. My daughter Sophia ran over. She jumped onto my lap. She kicked and hit me. She shouted, "You can't hit Aunt Anna. You're the bad person. Only the unloved are the mistresses. You're the mistress." I felt completely hollow. I couldn't react at all. A child I raised myself to protect someone else actually laid hands on me, their biological mother. I don't want to think about it. She's just a kindergarten kid. How could she say something like that? I'm just feeling really exhausted. I don't want to get entangled with them anymore. So I repeated it again. "Please leave my house immediately." But my mother-in-law insisted. "This is not your home. This is my son's home. You should be the one to leave." Upon hearing this, my stomach started to hurt even more. My hands were shaking. I called Oliver. "Your mom brought that woman home. You need to come back quickly." 20 minutes later, Oliver hurriedly rushed back. As soon as he entered, he ran towards me. He hugged me tightly. He kept apologizing. "Emily, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry." While gently patting my back to comfort me, he turned to his mother and said angrily, "Mom, what are you doing?" At that moment, Anna looked up. Her face bore a clear handprint. Her eyes were filled with tears. She softly called out Oliver's name. That made him instantly soften. He let go of me. He quickly walked up to Anna. He asked angrily, "Who hit you?" Anna gently leaned against him. She didn't say anything. She just shook her head. Oliver suddenly understood everything. He turned around and kicked me in the stomach. I was knocked to the ground by his kick. He confronted me. "How dare you lay a hand on her?" A wave of sweet and bitter taste surged up from my stomach. I held it back with great effort. I couldn't appear weak in front of them. I struggled to stand up. I looked directly into Oliver's eyes. I tried hard to control my tears. In this relationship, I have completely lost, but I still have to maintain my dignity. I ask, this is my home. I ask strangers to leave. Is there something wrong? My mother-in-law insists on saying, this is my son's home. It's not your home. I raise the corners of my mouth, ask Oliver. Really? He is gently comforting Anna. His tone is gentle, filled with tenderness. Emily, he said something that broke my heart. Strictly speaking, this doesn't actually count as your home. I paid the down payment for the house. I'm also paying off the mortgage. This house is mine. It has nothing to do with you. For a moment, I doubted whether I had misheard. What did he say? He said this is his home, not my home. So what does it mean that I have lived here for 10 years? I have given birth, done laundry, and cooked here. I embraced him every night as we fell asleep. What does such a life count for? We started from nothing. We have worked hard together until now, when we bought a house. I felt sorry for him having to bear the mortgage alone. It was too exhausting. So I took the initiative to bear the household expenses, whether it was buying things, taking care of the in-laws, or gift exchanges among friends, or even the children's tuition fees. I have never asked him for money. I believe couples shouldn't keep a strict account. After all, it's all for this family. But in the end, what happened? The partner I devoted myself to wholeheartedly only told me, this is not your home. At that moment, I felt as if all my strength was drained away. Even my soul seemed to leave my body. Only then did I understand. For the past 10 years, I have been relying on others to live. These 10 years, I lived like a joke. The tears I had held back for so long finally fell. I stared at a family of 4 across from me. My mother-in-law, her husband, and my wife with our daughter. How harmonious and warm they look. I stare at Oliver's face. The more I look, the more unfamiliar he seems. Who is this person? It seems I don't know him. That's understandable. This is someone else's husband. It's normal that I don't know him. Then I'll leave. Don't disturb their happy family time. Let's go, leaving this home that doesn't belong to me. After stepping out of that building, I walked aimlessly for a long time until I could no longer walk. Only then did I stop. Along the way, my tears had long dried up. I casually sat down on a bench by the roadside. I called the lawyer I had contacted earlier. Hello, Lawyer Guo. Could you please help me prepare a divorce agreement? Just as we discussed before. Yes, I don't want anything. I don't want custody either. I just want to get divorced as soon as possible. That's all. I hung up the phone. I sat there in a daze for a while. The road was bustling with traffic. People were walking briskly. It seemed like everyone had somewhere to go. And I felt like an outsider, completely out of place in this world. From the sun high in the sky to the setting sun, I sat for a long time. Finally, I gained a bit of strength. I took a deep breath. I sent a message to the company leader, boss, a chance to learn at the headquarters. I'm willing to go. The leader replied immediately. That's great. Emily, you should have gone long ago. That's right. I really should have gone long ago, 4 years ago. The company wanted to expand its business. It urgently needed a project leader. At that time, I was the company's most favored choice, as long as I worked at the overseas headquarters for 2 years. After returning, I will be responsible for the new project, to become a city partner. It was at that moment I found out I was pregnant. The choice between career and family was suddenly in front of me. Seeing Oliver's surprised and happy expression, I didn't hesitate much. I directly refused the company's arrangement. In the regretful gaze of my leader, I decided to go home to take care of my husband and children. In the blink of an eye, 4 years have passed. The colleague who took my place for further studies has already opened a branch in the South. The new project is thriving. The career is flourishing. And what about me? For the past 4 years, I've been revolving around family and children. Life hasn't changed much. In the end, I lost my place to live. Before going abroad, I need to hand over my work properly. This will probably take more than a month. I calculated the time. I simply booked a hotel for 50 days. I had a good sleep. I felt rejuvenated. I'm going to Oliver's house to get some clothes. It's almost noon. I thought no one was home. As soon as I opened the door, I was surprised to see Oliver sitting in the living room. He looked a bit downcast. When he saw me come back, he immediately stood up. His voice was clearly filled with excitement and trembling. Emily, you're back. I responded faintly. I'm back to get a few things. I'll leave soon. He quickly walked up to me. Looking at me with a face full of regret, he said, Don't go. This is your home. Where are you going? What's wrong with this person? He forgot what he said yesterday. He forgot it today. I kindly reminded him, this is your home. It's not my home. He suddenly knelt down on the ground, weeping bitterly. He expressed his remorse. Wife, I was wrong. Yesterday I spoke without thinking. I promise I won't do this again in the future. Forgive me, please. I prepared myself mentally for a long time before coming here. I reminded myself not to be soft-hearted easily. Seeing the person I've loved for over 10 years kneeling in front of me, I still feel like I can't breathe. Be good to him. It seems to have become my habit. Now I have to go against this habit and refuse him. Every part of my body is enduring immense pain. In the end, I still restrained myself. A woman. Once is enough for a foolish mistake. Once is enough for doing something wrong. I try to adjust my breathing to make myself sound less fragile. Step aside. I need to go pack my things. That's all I have to say. She didn't wait for his response. She walked directly around him, towards the master bedroom. On the wall of the master bedroom, there still hangs our wedding photo. At that time, we were young, but our hearts were particularly steadfast, although there is still a childishness on his face. But his eyes are filled with confidence for the future. I stole a glance. My nose felt a bit sour. I quickly looked away. I opened the suitcase and started stuffing clothes inside one by one. At that moment, Oliver rushed over. He urged me eagerly, Emily, it's inevitable for couples to have arguments, but how can one just leave home after a fight? I already know I was wrong, and I promise I won't make the same mistake again. Can't you just forgive me? I didn't want to hear him speak anymore. I got up and went to the bathroom. Those high-end skincare products were all bought with my own money. I have to take them with me. I can't let others take advantage of it. He followed me and kept talking. We stuffed various bottles into the gaps of the suitcase. The suitcase was already very full. In the end, there was only one bottle of perfume left. I really can't find a place to put it. I'm holding something. I plan to put it in my bag and take it away later. I lifted the suitcase, preparing to leave. Oliver noticed that I remained silent. He started to get a bit anxious. He tightly held my hand. His voice also rose. Emily, you still love me. Look at what you've become now. You talk to her. She doesn't respond at all, completely unwilling to communicate, acting like an unreasonable person. He said a couple of things. His tone softened again. He pried my hand away from the suitcase, holding it in his own hand, gently shook it. Even though I'm with Anna, my heart still loves you. You love me. I love you too. Since we love each other, why should we be apart? Seeing that I didn't say a word, he glanced up at the wedding photo on the wall. Then he gestured for me to take a look as well. He said, Wife, look at how happy we used to be. Isn't it good to be like before? Upon hearing this, I could no longer control myself. I shook off his hand. I violently threw the perfume at the wedding photo. With a loud bang, the huge wedding photo began to crack from one point. The faces of the two people in the photo were shattered into countless fragments. Perfume splattered everywhere. The pungent smell filled the entire room. As if trying to cover up this already spoiled relationship, I shouted at him in anger. How could you say such a thing? You think I'm spineless. Just a casual greeting. I would obediently come back. Anna's child is 10 months younger than Sophia, not even a year old. Are you that anxious to avoid taking care of the child and me? He specifically applied for a 3-year foreign assignment. If you're so good at calculations, why not work in finance? Yet you take such good care of that person's child. It's truly incomprehensible. Oliver, you make me feel very uncomfortable. Oliver seems to not expect that I know so much. It might also be because I just left him a bit stunned. He was momentarily taken aback. As I walked past him with my suitcase, I couldn't help but add another remark. Oliver, you make me doubt the 23-year-old you. Lawyer Guo quickly gave me the drafted divorce agreement. I was busy with the handover of my work. I didn't have time to look for Oliver for now. In the blink of an eye. A month has passed. In another half a month, I'll be going abroad. When I was so busy I could hardly think straight, I suddenly remembered the divorce matter. I quickly took out the divorce agreement I had with me. I can only send it by express mail. At the end of the workday, I received a message from Oliver. Emily, I'm downstairs at your company. I want to talk to you. When I went downstairs, Oliver was leaning against the car, smoking. He saw me walking over, quickly put out his cigarette. His body instinctively straightened up. He looked like he did when he used to wait for me downstairs after making me angry in college. He looked a bit pitiful, like an abandoned dog. I sighed, walked up to him, sat in the passenger seat. Let's officially say goodbye today. I thought he would take me out to eat. But instead, he took me back to our high school. More than 10 years have passed. Fine lines have already appeared at the corners of my eyes, but the school looks exactly the same. Only the security guard at the gate has been replaced by someone I don't recognize. We've gotten older. Clearly, pretending to be a student to sneak in is unrealistic. Oliver took me around to the back of the playground, looked around behind the bushes, and showed a satisfied smile. As expected, it's still here. The iron fence over there is clearly broken in 2 places. The width is just enough for a person to pass sideways. He smiled at me. Speak. I used to sneak out from here to buy food for you. Hearing him say that, I was a bit stunned. Our high school was fully enclosed. Everyone had to live on campus. The school only had a day and a half off every 2 weeks. I took the opportunity to go home and see my parents. The stuff in the school supermarket is not only expensive, but also limited in variety. No one likes to shop there, but I have cravings. It's hard to have a decent meal every 2 weeks. I really felt it wasn't enough. During those tough days at school, I truly felt like time dragged on. I was extremely restless inside. After mentioning it to Oliver once, he became particularly attentive. From time to time, he would buy a bunch of snacks to satisfy my cravings. When my roommates saw it, they were all envious. Oliver's voice interrupted my recollections. He has already entered the campus. He's urging me to catch up after we go in together, walking slowly around the campus. Everything around is both familiar and strange. He walks beside me, occasionally telling me about the interesting things that happened here. His memory is particularly good. There are some things I've completely forgotten, but he still remembers them clearly. I'm strolling around the campus. It feels like I'm back in the past, secretly dating him after evening study. That feeling is both relaxed and wonderful. Before I knew it, I walked to the playground. There is a ring of trees planted around our school playground. They all grow quite tall. I don't know if it's to prevent students from climbing over, or to make it easier for students to climb over. He starts from one side, counting as he goes, passing by those trees one by one. He reaches the 12th tree. He stops in his tracks, look up carefully. After a while, he shouted excitedly, "It's here. Honey, come and take a look. I already know what it is." Walk over to him. I looked up too. There were 2 names carved above the trunk. Oliver, Emily. In the middle, there was also a heart shape carved. Couples back then loved to carve their names on the trees by the playground. It seemed like leaving some mark. Without it, there would be no proof of their feelings. One day, Oliver brought me to this place too. 12 is my lucky number. He seriously carved our names together. He said we would always love each other, until the day the trees die. He told me, trees can live for hundreds or even thousands of years. He would love me for a lifetime, and for the next life and the life after that. That day, we hid behind the tree under the cover of night. We shared our first kiss. He held my face. I smelled the scent of wood on his fingers. Oliver looked at me. His eyes were shining. I couldn't tell if he was crying. He said, "Emily, I don't understand what has happened to me all these years. Maybe it's because you were too good to me. It made me increasingly reckless. I thought you would always love me, so I thought it was okay. Emily would always be there. So I went too far. I hurt you. I never thought about separating from you. In the month you were gone, I have already made arrangements with Anna. I will pay her child support until the child is of age. I have already talked to my mom and Sophia. When you return, they will apologize to you. In the future, I will give you all my salary. Every month I'll share the household chores with you. We'll tutor Sophia together. I can't leave you. Come back, okay?" He speaks very softly. He pauses after saying a few words. It seems he's trying hard to control his emotions, not letting himself cry. I also feel a pain in my heart. My tears are about to fall. In the face of this situation, who wouldn't feel sad? I loved him for most of my life. He has been a part of my life for most of the time. In every fragment of memory, he is there. But what should I do now? Oliver, I once loved you so much. He seems much more mature now, but he still carries a bit of that youthful vigor from high school. I look at him carefully. It feels as if I can see that boy who carved my name again. "Oliver, I don't hate you." His eyes lit up. The corners of his mouth slightly lifted. It seemed like he was about to smile. I added, "But I no longer love you." A tear suddenly slipped down his cheek. I ignored him. Loving him made me feel exhausted. I don't want to guess every sweet word he says, whether it's sincere or feigned. I don't want to speculate if he really has something to do every time he goes out, or if he's just finding an excuse to brush me off. The most crucial point is, I can no longer believe, as I did before, that he loves me. Once doubt begins, this thought becomes inescapable. The love story of Oliver and Emily. Let's just end it here. Rather than becoming a couple who resent each other, it's better to part ways. I took the divorce agreement out of my bag and handed it to him. He handed over a piece of paper. His hand trembled a little. He said, "Just sign here." He took the thin paper. His fingers gripped it tightly. The paper was wrinkled. I paused for a moment. My voice was a bit choked. "I didn't have a pen on hand. I'll send it to you once I sign it in a few days." Actually, I have a pen for work in my bag, but I still yielded. This was my last bit of tolerance for this man. "All right, then just send it to me once you sign it." He asked hoarsely, "Are you unwilling to even see me?" I replied, "Oliver, I'm preparing to go abroad." He asked anxiously, "Why are you going abroad?" I didn't say much. I just simply said, "In the future, I wish you happiness. I will also be happy." 2 years have passed. I have been back from a business trip to the headquarters for a month. In this month, I have been tirelessly training everything I learned. Then I took a few days off. I went home to spend a few days with my parents, because soon I will be going to a new city to develop the market. It will be very busy ahead. I won't be able to see them for a long time. The days at my parents' home were very relaxing. My mom spoiled me just like when I was a child. On this day, I slept in as usual until the sun was high in the sky. Only then did I head out to find something to eat. I casually asked, "Mom, what are we having today?" I shouted while walking. I turned a corner. I found Oliver and Sophia sitting in my living room. My parents were enthusiastically peeling oranges for Sophia. They kept urging her to eat more. However, Oliver, sitting aside, was being ignored. When I got divorced, I only mentioned the discord with Oliver. I didn't say much else. They probably thought a lot on their own. Sophia saw me. She quietly called out, "Mom." I didn't respond. 2 years have passed. She has changed a lot. I could hardly recognize her. Oliver stood up. He anxiously rubbed the seam of his pants. I ran my fingers through my hair. "I didn't expect him to come back again," I said. "Then I'll go out to eat. Oliver, come with me." Hey, on the way out, Oliver kept talking to me about his life over the past 2 years. After he broke up with Anna, he has been living alone with Sophia. He has been both a father and a mother. This made him truly understand how hard it was for me back then. Sophia has started elementary school, but her academic performance is not ideal. I don't know who she inherited that from. Her temper has been getting worse lately. Sometimes he gets so angry that he wants to hit something. But hearing her call for her mom in her dreams at night, he can't bring himself to blame her. He talked to me about these things. I felt no inner turmoil. In the past 2 years, I have completely immersed myself in work. Work has gradually helped me regain my peace. I no longer feel sad about the people and events of the past. Let the past be the past. Oliver noticed my silence. The volume of his voice gradually decreased. After a long while, he finally spoke up. "Emily, I still love you. Let's get back together," I answered without hesitation. "No," after a moment of silence. He said again, "Then can I bring Sophia to see you in the future? She misses you very much." I sighed. "Oliver, Sophia was the one who left me first. She didn't want me to be her mother. I accepted that. For the past 2 years, I've been paying the child's support on time. I will continue to do so in the future, until she turns 18. I have fulfilled my responsibilities towards her. It's best if we keep in touch less from now on." There was another moment of silence. "But she's your child." I continued to walk, staring straight ahead. So what? I can still have other children in the future. I'm only 34 this year. I definitely have the chance to remarry and have another child, as long as I want to leave. I took a few steps. I noticed he hadn't caught up. I turned around. I looked at him in confusion. He had his head down. He didn't dare to look me in the eye. He stammered. I already had dinner, so I'm not going with you." I nodded. "Go ahead. All right. Then when you go back, take Sophia with you." I casually said it doesn't matter. I went downstairs and had a spicy hot pot. It tasted pretty good. After eating, I took a walk for an hour before heading home. When I got home, Oliver and Sophia had already left. My mom told me gloomily. Oliver said it was due to a job transfer. He has to move to another city with Sophia. He won't be coming back. It will be difficult for me to see my granddaughter in the future. I smiled gently. I comforted her. "Don't be sad. When I start dating in the future, I can just have another child, ending an unhealthy relationship. It's like being sick. If you still keep in touch, it's like the root of the illness hasn't been removed. You can never fully recover. Only by completely leaving that person who hurt you can you start a new life."